This world has a funny way of destroying the visionaries. See, when they talk about Martin Luther King and they give him high schools a holiday, a few city streets, and they want to tell everyone that he was just such a great public speaker. And same world that says that Jesus is a narcissist that demands your worship. What they don't want you to know is that these were visionaries. That when he said, "I seen the promised land," and he gave his "I had a dream" speech, he was causing a transformation. That his words threaten the status quo. That human beings clinging to their subjective experience are always going to be filled with rage and hate towards anybody that stands against the status quo because of fear. Because the fearful mind that has been segregated from its own capacity to ideate, to see objectively, is threatened by the minds of people who see. And it doesn't matter what field you're in, that if you have vision, you're going to be persecuted. You're going to be hated simply because your words create alternate endings in a world where people are all on their own individual yellow brick road to the happiness displaced by their own fear-based reactive mind. And it's just fear of the unknown that keeps people clinging to the suffering world that they do understand. And even when you're just talking about the table of brotherhood, and you want to tell me this is a world ready for artificial intelligence, that we handed out Nobel Peace Prizes to the people that helped us invent the nuclear bomb so we can have a Cold War, so we could test its efficacy on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, rather than taking the 200 IQ points and putting that to work on the logistics of ending world hunger. What do we use it for? So no, Martin Luther King wasn't a talented speechwriter or somebody with just a little bit of passion. He was a stand for a future that works for people, where human beings would be human beings, where he understood the meaning of the Tower of Babel, where the individual subjective ego-based experience would divide us, where even speaking English, we're talking a different language, where we only feel comfortable around people who think the way we do. And we segregate ourselves politically, nationally, genetically, based on our genders, based on our states, North versus South, East Coast versus West Coast, us versus them, where we can't even observe the lack of objectivity when it's staring us in the face. I've never seen an athlete yelling at the referee to give the ball back to the other team with the game on the line. So where's the objectivity? Where's the world peace going to come from when we can't collectively embrace our own humanity? Where the children of the world are force-fed the histories of the adults while we complain about history repeating itself. Where we're just held hostage. An education system that severs our creativity, indoctrinates us to think knowledge is power, when the knowledge is their power, even if it's accurate, because it trains you to not even be generative in your own thought process. Where thinking is parroting and paraphrasing, and when you run out of prepackaged information that school gave to you, you don't have the authority to speak about a subject. A world where people think that getting off the reservation of convention is freedom. And so they believe the earth is flat, and they even diverge further from reality. Or they try to simplify reality by converting science into baby food, so that the people driven by inferiority are able to subordinate science. Or somebody watches a YouTube video and says the earth is flat now, is ready to argue with an astrophysicist that's been obviously brainwashed with all that physics. So no, Martin Luther King was not merely a good speaker. He was a visionary in a world where vision is neurodivergent, demonized, and nailed to a cross. I'm not going to be nailed to a cross anymore. I'm done being told what I can and can't talk about in a world where the experts are experts at someone else's thoughts, where the same psychology used to indoctrinate has created a pharmaceutical intervention for the human mind, where mastering your own mind is not even a requirement to be certified to try to help people master theirs. Seems really unusual to me to understand that the same psychology that's used to try to help people is the same psychology that's destroying them through propaganda, think tanks, focus groups, and mass consumption, having every man, woman, and child running on a treadmill that seems like they found a really good way to replace the American Negro with the American consumer. And Wells Fargo owns the next 30 years of your life just so you can wave to your neighbor to get the validation you're entitled to, that you were trained to acquire in school. Well, there's a fork in the road, and there's a new paradigm required. And I'm just curious, what side are you going to be on? The status quo or the awakening?